Viewer discretion is advised. Your fave will be criticized.
That's Chris.
That's Shan.
And welcome to CCTV, the nonstop pop show.
Today, we are heading to Pop 101 class and learning about British girl group royalty, the Sugababes.
So, Chris, do you like the Sugababes?
Yes, I am a big fan of the Sugababes. They were really at the forefront of the British pop music scene when I was growing up. They were the cool girl group alternative to like Atomic Kitten and Steps and kind of that whole very more bubblegum happy pop. And I remember the drama of the lineup changes very well. Like that was
really?
just, yeah. But it was really the harmonies that drew me to them. You know, I love a good girl group harmony, and they are the top, or at least very close to the top, if not the top. And Too Lost in You is my absolute favorite song. That's still one of my favorite girl group ballads of all time.
Wow, ballad. You haven't named one on the show in a while. Wow.
Yeah. How about you?
They're growing on me with each listen. I think a lot of people don't know. Chris and I are actually friends in real life. We didn't just meet online. Not joking. But no, the last time Chris and I saw each other actually was before the pandemic had started, and you showed me a bunch of UK pop, but amongst all of the groups that you showed me, they were the most chillaxed. So I wasn't exactly like absorbing as much as possible, but I was listening to the harmonies, and that's kind of what kept my attention. I love the coolness of this group. Like seriously, there's something about them that's just very like, senior girls in the bathroom. You walk in and they're just like, hey kid, like something about them is just so cool. But I have to say, I do not know much of their songs. I'm still learning. But the first song I ever heard by them was Get Sexy.
I feel bad for you.
Listen, my 12-year-old self thought it was like kind of hot because, was that 12? Okay, 13, 14-year-old self. I had saw it because a girl group member from a K-pop group that I really liked was dancing to it, and she was killing it. I was like, yes, shut up, watch me work. But yeah, I've now come to find out that is not exactly their strongest piece of work.
No.
But this is what this 101 is going to be about. It's going to be about educating and rehashing the past a little bit and seeing what's up with them now and comparing what they did in the past.
Yeah, so we've created playlists for you guys to follow along if you want to listen to the full tracks or watch the music videos. And so here we go. Class is in session. The Sugababes are a British girl group formed in 1998 by All Saints manager Ron Tom. At 13 years old, members Siobhan and Mutya were in the same industry circle and were recording in the same studio. And Mutya invited her best friend Keisha to hang out with her in the studio, and Ron saw her and immediately saw the potential in them as a trio. He saw that they were all of different race, come from different backgrounds, and he likened them to the United Colors of Benetton campaign. And vocally also, he's thought that their blend was undeniable. Mutya has a low smoky tone, Siobhan is more light and piercing, and Keisha has a thicker angelic tone. So they started recording and were very quickly signed to London Records.
Comes, I don't know its destination. It's a one-way ticket to a madland situation.
Yeah, so their first single actually was Overload. And this single was nominated for the Best Single Award at the Brit Awards in 2000. This song is great for a debut. It was nonchalant with the deliveries, and the vocals were so smooth. It achieved critical acclaim. And I agree. I think it was something really special for some girls to be that young and come across so mature. I really did like this song myself. The group's debut album, One Touch, was almost entirely co-written by them, which is amazing, and it was praised for their maturity and reflective lyrics about the experiences of female teenagers. The Sugababes gained popularity and became known for their tougher image. They didn't really smile much, and all of their songs were actually a bit more moody than the average girl group. So I liked that part about them. I think even what you said about them looking like United Colors, that's hilarious. I love their look like when you first showed me, I thought, wow, they have a white girl, an Asian girl, and a black girl,
Mhm.
and I mean, Mutia is biracial, but it's nice to kind of see that aesthetic in a group. Um, I thought that their whole look was interesting compared to the other groups you showed me, like Atomic Kitten and like Steps and Girls Aloud, because everything is about the glitz and the glamour and the dresses and the sex appeal. But they weren't old enough to be sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
that's interesting how they mix that cool factor, and that's what now looking back, I was listening to this album, I was like, wow, this is perfectly like it's great.
What amazing album.
Yeah.
I've grown to appreciate it way more now that
Mhm.
I'm older.
Mhm.
And it is kind of amazing really listening to the lyrics
Right.
and how mature it all was.
Yeah.
I can't imagine myself as a 14-year-old
Right.
writing anything, like being this sophisticated.
Mhm.
But yeah, Overload, just such a cool track, and it's aged so well
Yeah.
also.
Yes.
But yeah, the rest of the album, honestly, the whole album is absolutely amazing.
Yes, it's
Um,
strong. It's
so
strong.
yeah, so the other singles that they released from the album are New Year, Run for Cover, and Soul Sound.
Mm.
So what do you think of those songs and about the album?
Well, I feel like there were some other songs like One Foot In.
Hmm.
Oh yeah. Right off the bat, I heard it and I was like, oh, this should have been a single. Should have been a single. Even the titular track,
Hmm.
One Touch,
One
I
Touch.
like that. And that was enough. Like it wasn't like, oh, baby, touch me. It was just something really sweet. It was age appropriate. And even now, as I'm listening to it, I could appreciate it. So I feel like those two songs could have definitely been singles. I can't say that I was in love with Soul Sound. For it to be the last single off this album wasn't the best choice, in my opinion.
I completely agree. So many tracks on this album are so good. Same Old Story, Real Thing, Lush Life, like they're
Oh,
all so
yes.
cool. The harmonies are all really effortless. Like
Mhm.
it's insane how great the blend is.
Yes, yes.
It's funny because I think all three of them sound quite similar
In a
in a
way, yeah.
way.
Mhm.
And that kind of changes as they've gotten older.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's really interesting kind of listening back now that I know what they sound like
Right.
and hearing them as children essentially.
Right.
But yes, I agree. Soul Sound was not the best choice.
Mhm.
And honestly, the general public agreed.
Yeah.
Despite all the critical success for the group and the album, the sales weren't really there. And the Sugar Babes were dropped from London Records in 2001.
Mm.
And not only that, but Siobhan decided to leave the group due to infighting. And she was actually later on diagnosed with depression as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, but that brings us on to Sugar Babes 2.0. Though they had no record label and were down a member, the Sugar Babes team found a new member and did a fake audition with Mutia and Keisha to make them feel like they kind of played a part. Um, and they found Heidi, who had
Mhm.
a higher and warm voice that sat really well with the other two girls. And then they quickly began to work on the next album. Then they were signed to Island Records and were ready to release a new album.
Yeah. So the first single from the second album was a mashup produced by Richard X, and it was Freak Like Me by Adina Howard and Our Friends Electric by Gary Newman and Tubeway Army.
Mhm.
And this track hit #1 in the UK and did well all over the world, except for the US, of course. And the album, Angels with Dirty Faces, also did extremely well commercially and saw the girls experiment a bit more with the more dancey R&B pop sound while still emphasizing the signature 3-part harmonies. And yeah, I remember this come back well. This is when I really noticed who the Sugar Babes were.
Right.
It was just such a huge story, first off, that they got a new member.
Mhm.
And I think people were really on board for this slightly more commercial sound.
Right.
They kept their effortless, cool kind of look,
Mhm.
but it was a little more radio friendly.
Right.
And I think Heidi's voice slotted in well with the girls.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, this you can tell their confidence as singers, as songwriters was just getting a little more as they were getting older as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thinking about how the first album sounded to this one. I mean, of course, there's been a substantial change in their age, but also
Mhm.
with the sound. I think Siobhan kind of just added this kind of whimsical kind of sound. Something about her voice was just very, like you said, piercing. And Heidi, she did sit in a really nice place, and I think at that point in time, their sound got a little bit more sleek, even their look. You know, I
Mhm.
really did like this song when you showed me. I was like, I know this song, because obviously Adina Howard's version was very popular here in the US. And that's
Mhm.
probably kind of why people weren't really checking for them, honestly. Like, we already had Adina Howard's kind of like, people are very loyal to like the originals out here, so
Yeah, well, I don't think it was even released over here, you know?
really?
Yeah, because at the
Wow.
time it was still very territory based, and they probably didn't even
Okay.
have a deal here at that point, you know?
Lame sauce, but
Yeah.
that's the way it is. But yeah, even though when I look up this song, I don't think, oh, let me look up covers. I think I want to hear the Tina Howard version, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But this one was really cool. I think when you showed it to me in juxtaposition to like their debut, um, I liked it a lot. And I loved how just almost like rockish it kind of sounded. Like something about it was just so effortlessly sexy without being like, oh yeah, it's sexy,
Mhm.
So I really did like it. And I also liked the next single that they released, Round Round.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this one was actually done with Xanomania, who
Mm-hmm.
later on would become Girls Aloud's main production team.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is such a cool one. I love how each girl has a completely different verse.
Right.
And that ended up kind of becoming a theme in some later singles as well.
Mm-hmm.
And this song also has a Cantonese cover, which is
You're
really
kidding.
interesting. Yeah. It doesn't sound great, but good for them. Get those royalties.
I hear that. I hear that come through.
Oh man. So the other singles released from this album were Stronger, Angels with Dirty Faces, and Shape.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. And Angels with Dirty Faces. Angel with Dirty Faces. This song was actually a Powerpuff Girls like soundtrack song. So that's really
Yes.
impressive. It's exciting. And yet still people were not paying attention to them out here, of course.
Well, I think I need to look this up actually, but I'm pretty sure it was the theme song everywhere except for the US. Again, I think that was a thing.
Slipping, dropping the ball, I see. Because we were over here with Go Monkey Go by Devo. But luckily, the girls finally would touch US charts because they would then release Hole in the Head. And it was an upward trajectory from here. And the girls were reaching their late teens and their confidence grew. And you could totally see that. They just looked hot and fresh. And Hole in the Head was just, it just gave me everything that I would want in a girl group, especially with my personal style, like the whole tomboy becoming sexy thing,
Mhm.
because everything is all glitz and glamour and Barbie. They were Bratz dolls. Like,
Yes.
I loved it. Like, they're spunky and full of moxie. I mean, what do you think about this single?
I love this single. This is
Yeah.
still one of my absolute favorite Sugar Babe songs.
Mm-hmm.
And the album as well. The
Mm-hmm.
album 3. This is my personal favorite album of the Sugar Babes.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, of course, it's the one album that's not on digital services here in the US.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Yes, I
Yeah.
couldn't play it on my Alexa.
Yeah. But yeah,
Mhm.
Hole in the Head is so good. Too Lost in You, I have to shout
Oh.
out again. It was
Mhm.
written by Linda Perry and Diane Warren,
Right.
who are both legendary songwriters. And just the 3-part harmony throughout that entire
Mhm.
chorus is
Yes.
just amazing.
Their sweetener vocals, I meant to tell you, I love it. The oohs and oh my gosh, I love it when they sustain notes and you can hear all of their voices, but they're still
Mhm.
blended so well. Clean, absolutely clean. Like,
So good.
major inspo for sure.
Yes. So along with Too Lost in You, they also released In the Middle and Caught in a Moment as singles as well.
Right, but even with all the success, it seems that the Sugar Babes were constantly featured in the tabloids, and there was rumors of infighting and bullying and all these kinds of things, which Keisha actually mentioned in a YouTube video. I've watched it, and I can
Mhm.
understand as being like a Black female being considered the aggressive one. But again, between tabloids and being that age, you know, people are rumors are going to stir up, and it's just fortunate that she felt like she was being kind of targeted as the main
Mhm.
source of it. And it seemed like I don't want to call it bad luck, but it just seems that life would not keep all the girls together. Um,
Yeah. I think it's hard,
mhm.
especially with a young group of people. Any
Yeah.
young group of people, you're going to have arguments, you're going to have
Right.
disagreements, but of
Right.
course they're in the public eye.
Yeah.
So it's going to be blown up, into a larger
Yes.
thing.
Right.
Also, I think that due to this cool image that they had where they don't really smile much,
Yeah.
all their videos, they're like breaking something or like hurting someone,
Smizing in the
like,
corner
yeah.
somewhere, like, yeah.
I don't think that image helped. I think
Yeah.
it made them kind of easy targets, unfortunately.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the whole racism kind of thing falls into it too, where
Right.
Mutya and Keisha going against the blonde white girl,
Right.
it's kind of all of that combined, unfortunately.
Mhm.
I'm really glad that Keisha has since come out and talked about it.
Right.
And yeah, hopefully people are more cognizant of that now.
Yeah, true. I mean, I'm glad that they were, able to kind of at least release music during this time. Because Push the Button came out after a brief
Mhm.
hiatus because Mutia gave birth to her daughter. And their fourth album, Taller in More Ways, was largely written by Keisha and Heidi. So Push the Button remains one of their signature songs. It was even featured in the 2012 Olympics in London. So yeah,
Yeah.
how do you feel about the track?
I love this track. I think it's so much fun.
Mhm.
Keisha has she mentioned it in another YouTube video where she was talking about how she wrote it.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think the chorus is so catchy. The confidence that runs through it
Yeah.
is perfect,
The elevator.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And again, I think you can just tell that they're all very comfortable at
Mhm.
this point with their
Right.
sound, and the blend is really there.
Mhm.
I think you can tell maybe that Mutia didn't take part in the writing for the album as much.
Mhm.
But yeah, again, I think it was a really good, consistent step.
Right, I hear you. Unfortunately, the last single that they would release with Mutia was Ugly. She announced that she was going to be leaving the Sugar Babes, and later it was revealed that she was suffering from postpartum depression. So,
Mhm.
and also she wanted to spend more time with her child, which is natural. She's a mother, and that's what happens. You want to spend time with your family, and quickly thereafter, she was replaced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mutia her voice is it's so unique.
Yes, I agree.
And she was also just a unique everything. She was,
Mhm.
interesting to look at on stage.
Yeah.
She always had like a cool style to her.
Yes. Yeah.
And she was just such a signature part of the Sugar Babes.
I agree. Yeah.
I
Mhm.
can't imagine the task of trying to replace her.
Right. And I think that is what, like I said, when you were taking me through our little 101,
Mhm.
uh, I kept looking at her like, what's her name again? What's her name? What's that one? Like her style is very cool. And even her sound, if you take out the aesthetic, her sound, there's going to be
Mhm.
something missing. That rasp that is now so popular is going to be missing. And it was, because with the replacement, I can't say that hole was filled properly. So management was quick to find Amel, which
Mhm.
is interesting. She re-recorded a few of the tracks, and then they re-released Taller in More Ways.
So Red Dress was the first single released with Amel's vocals, and ironically, Mutia later revealed that she actually hated the song and was really glad that they waited for her to leave before they released it. But yeah, so Amel, she has an interesting voice. She does enunciate a bit differently from the other girls, which
Mhm.
really threw me off in the beginning when I first heard her sing Mutia's parts. I think also, obviously Mutia, again, like you were saying, has a very unique tone, and she can also reach very low notes that I think a lot
Yeah.
of women can't.
Mhm.
So that's just hard to replace. And I
Yeah.
think Amel, she's able to do most of the low harmonies,
But it's missing
but
that.
there's no
Oof.
depth. There's not, there's
Yeah.
not as much of the thickness and the huskiness that's in
Mhm.
Mutia's voice is not there.
Yeah,
It's
it's not
different.
as full
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. And Red Dress. What do you think of Red Dress?
Okay, so I didn't really like the song. It's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
comparatively to their older tracks, it doesn't even touch anything. Like
Mm-mm.
I wouldn't pick this out in a lineup. Like, okay, can't
Yeah.
even identify it really. I mean, I guess it was something to kind of introduce a new look because Amel does have a look. She looks like a model.
Hmm.
She can sing. Maybe she may not have the same tone that we're used to, but she could sing. And she has a look. And I think they were probably trying to, I guess, follow that aesthetic. But
Yeah, definitely more commercial.
yes.
But yeah, so the final single that they released from Taller in More Ways was Follow Me Home,
Mhm.
which ironically is also one of the songs that Mutia did co-write on Taller in More Ways and wrote for her daughter. And of course, that's the one that they chose to release as the final single and have Amel lead the whole thing, which
Awkward.
is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the end of that era. They were quick to move on to a greatest hits album.
So they took the opportunity to close that chapter of their life with Mutia and begin a new, fresh start for the band with Amel. Easy was actually the first new single featuring Amel. So, and it was also co-written by her, which is nice, and the other members as well. And
Mhm.
with Mutia gone, the group seemed to have taken on this whole pop girl image, more sexy, more dresses, more
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. I mean, this was the true start for Sugar Babes
Mhm.
3.0. Amel is very different, just like we
Yeah.
said, her whole
Yeah.
vibe. So, and yeah, this video is very sexy.
Let me tell you something. I was joking about the whole like them being senior girls in the bathroom. Like before this 101, I had never seen the video, honestly. And now after watching it, it seems that I have some kind of foresight because they were in the bathroom, the toilets,
Yep.
just writhing about.
Mhm.
The lyrics were risque, they're cheeky. I don't mind a little bit of cheekiness.
Mhm.
But like I said, it's a complete departure from
Yes.
anything I've from them, but I
Mhm.
will say the highlights for me in this song are the chords at the end of the chorus. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Good job, production.
Yeah. So to close off this greatest hits era, they did a charity single with Girls Aloud, which was a cover of Walk This Way. It was not the best collaboration,
No.
but as a fan of both of them, it was fun to see them perform together. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they were ready to move on,
Mhm.
finally start, a brand new album with Amel.
Mhm.
And the first single from the fifth album, Change, was a light electropop track called About You Now, which hit #1 in the UK and was there for 4 weeks and is actually still their highest selling single to date.
Can we bring yesterday back around? Because I know how I feel about you now. Yeah, I know how I feel about you now.
Crazy.
So this album introduced a brighter, peppy sound for the group.
Mhm.
And this song is also, I think, the most kind of bubblegum pop that Sugar Babes went to.
Mhm.
But yeah, I remember when they announced the release, I was super excited because it was written by Kathy Dennis,
Right.
who had written Kylie's Can't Get You Out of My Head, Britney's Toxic, and also done with Dr. Luke, who
Before he was gross.
Yeah, before we knew all that other stuff about him. All of it was very this happy pop, which is just very
Not
different
on
from
brand.
the other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do need to shout out, there's a song called Never Gonna Dance Again on this album,
Mhm.
which is actually one of my favorite Sugar Babes songs.
Yeah.
It was done by Xenomania, of course. And it's actually been revealed that Mutia had recorded it previously and had her own verse, and Amel rewrote her own verse for it, but I would love to hear Mutia's version.
Leak it.
Yeah. What do you think of About You Now?
I didn't know what to think about it. When I first heard it, I was like, why the hell do I have iCarly on this playlist right now? So for people who don't really know this song, who aren't really fans, such as myself, fresh fans, if you know iCarly and Miranda Cosgrove doing About You Now and that lasso for Back Around, then you know this song. This is
Yeah.
the Sugar Babes original track. Honestly, again, now that I'm aware of where this album falls in their cycle.
Mhm.
Not exactly Sugar Babes. You know, it turned to Sugar
Yeah.
Pop Babes. I don't know how I feel about it really. It's okay. It's cute though. Like
Yeah.
I know the song because of Miranda, so I'm kind of like predisposed to liking it, but as a whole, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a catchy song. It's a
Yeah.
fun chorus, but
Mhm.
yeah, it just doesn't have the same energy that they used to have.
Right.
But good for them that it's still their highest selling single.
We love to see them winning, but you
Yeah.
know.
Uh, so the other singles released from this album were Change and Denial.
Mhm.
Also both just kind of very poppy songs. Not much else to say, honestly. Yeah.
Right. Again, Sugar Pop Babes. The girls eventually went on tour, which is good for them. And then, after the success of said tour, they started work on their sixth album, Catfights and Spotlights. And with this album, they were more inspired by Motown, funk, and soul. And although the album was not as commercially successful, the lead single Girls actually did really well.
Here comes the girl. Here comes the
And
Yeah.
so, I mean, it had some mix of the original track, Here Comes the Girls. So that's really fun as well. I like the brassiness of it. Um, so the whole Motown sound was definitely there, the horns and whatnot.
Yeah.
What do you think about the album?
Yeah, it's funny because I think Girls is actually my least favorite song on the album.
Ah, yeah.
I love the Motown sound, so I was really
Mhm.
excited that they kind of took that as an
Mhm.
inspiration. And this time the harmonies were back. My favorite song on the album is called Sound of Goodbye. Just a
Mhm.
really beautiful ballad. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, I think people honestly were just getting a little tired of pop music in general. This is
Ah,
kind of
yeah.
the era when pop music was kind of dying
Yeah.
a little bit and kind of the indie rock was kind of coming back. And so
Yeah.
I think they were struggling a little bit
Mhm.
to stay relevant at this point.
Right.
And so unfortunately, this album didn't do as well. They did release one more song from the album, No Can Do, which Shan was very excited about.
I was shocked.
Unfortunately, this album and the era of this album was cut short because it didn't do too well.
Yeah.
But listening back, I actually do like a lot of the tracks on it.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
again, like I said, maybe because I am kind of fresh. I just feel like they were kind of adopting this more mainstream concept of what a girl group was, and they did not keep
Mhm.
that edginess. So even with the No Can Do video, I was like, oh, like, you know, people, them being surrounded by people and kind of just like being sexy is okay. But like the half naked men just did not click, you know?
I agree. Yeah, with Amel there, they did adopt this very sexy image that was
Mhm.
not there at all. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it was there when Mutia was there, but it
It's
was different.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't as like Victoria's Secret.
Right. Exactly.
Basically, as you were saying,
Yeah.
they were trying to stay relevant.
Mhm.
So the Sugar Babes then ended up signing with Jay-Z's Rock Nation label in
Mhm.
April of 2009. And while at first this sounded like it'd be a really exciting thing,
As it always
it
does.
did, right, it did result, in them working with really high profile musicians
Mhm.
such as Bruno Mars, Ryan Tedder, Stargate.
Mhm.
But they actually didn't write any of the songs on the next album.
Yeah.
And the first single was a song called Get Sexy.
Just shut up and watch me walk. Cause I'm too sexy in this club. Too sexy in this club. So sexy it hurts. If you
And this one, it did well in the charts, but musically is a far cry from
Yes.
the three-part harmonies and the personal lyrics that the group was originally formed on.
Mhm.
This song was co-written by Bruno Mars and
Oh.
includes an interpolation of Right Said Fred's I'm Too Sexy.
I'm sorry. This song is like okay, so I first heard this song, like I said, watching a K-pop girl dance to it.
Uh-huh.
So it's just like, shut up and watch me work. I mean, like, I guess they thought, okay, I know the Sugar Babes, they're sassy, they're edgy. I'll put shut up in here. No, it's embarrassing. It's totally embarrassing. I feel so bad for them.
There's just no harmonies.
No.
It's just chanting and yelling and
That's the American style. Let's talk about sexy and have everyone sing at one point or another, but don't have them harmonize, even though they're a group. Pick your fave.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it to them though. I'm curious, whether they actually what they felt about this song at the time and whether they were happy with this. Cause I think
Mhm.
it's very clear that they really did this. They kind of sold out,
Yeah.
whether it was their choice or the record label's choice.
Mhm.
They were trying to stay relevant,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'll give it to them. I've seen a couple performances and they're giving it their all. Keisha,
Respect.
Keisha, you're still killing it, but crazy to go from Freak Like Me to
Yes,
this.
to this. Yeah. And that's what gets me. That song is inherently just dirty and freaky. The whole song is about, hey, can you keep up with me? Because you got to be a roughneck brother that can satisfy. This one is just like, it's just like, like a flash in the bar for people who can't see me. I'm flashing,
Yeah.
but not really. That's what this is, a flash in the bar, as opposed to the girl watching the guy in the club. And it's just like, come here now.
Mhm.
And that's what kind of, I think, gets me, because I think was Pussycat Dolls out at this time?
Mhm.
Yeah, so that whole like, sexy short skirt, hiked up shirts, overtly I want you was the thing. And yeah, it wasn't it.
Ugh.
But it seems that not everyone was digging this kind of concept or whatever the case may be, but the group actually did not stay together again. In September 2009, after Amel seemed to disappear from a few promotional activities, it was reported that she had left the group. Keisha and Heidi were seen doing a lot of duo performances, but it seemed that with a lot of confusion in the group and also in the tabloids, it was actually revealed that Keisha was the one that was actually booted from the group. And it's
Mhm.
crazy because she was the original member, the last remaining original member. The full story has yet to be revealed, because probably because of legal reasons, but it is understood that when Amel left, Heidi said that she would follow, but management and the label told them that they would rather keep them and let Keisha go,
Mm.
which I find to be typical of industry behavior. The erasure of darker skinned Black women in pop or just in music in general is kind of like the thing to do, and no one really bats an eyelash. And beyond her color, she's an OG. What the heck? How the heck do you get rid of a staple? Obviously, there was some drama and music communication within the band. As a replacement, the label found a young lady named Jade who had been a contestant on Eurovision, brought her in, and she actually re-recorded all of her vocals on the Sweet 7 album.
Mhm.
So what do you think about Jade and this change? I mean, you've been a fan.
Yeah. Well, so Keisha has always been my favorite member.
Mm,
And so I was very sad
right.
when this was all happening. I remember the confusion of it among the
Mm,
fans. No one knew what was going on. And there were
right.
so many like different news stories coming out that contradicted each other.
Mm,
And they did emphasize the Keisha as a bully story. They did.
wow. Okay. Yeah.
They really painted her as a bad guy
Mhm.
in the situation. And Mel was the victim, you know? And Amel, I believe she had a lot of issues at the time dealing with all the attention and the press that came
Mhm,
from it as well.
mhm.
At the end of the day, I think, there are two stories to everything. I think in the end, it was a good thing. Keisha has since said that at the end of the day, it was the right thing to happen.
Right. Right.
Um, but yeah, oof, what a horrible situation.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine Destiny's Child without like Michelle? Or not even Michelle, about Kelly, or without
Mm,
Beyonce? Like, that's literally what happened to this group. I've never seen anything like this before in my life. Like, with Destiny's Child, it's like, oh, they're losing members, but it didn't affect their sound as
right.
much as it affected these girls. But soon thereafter, they released their first single with this new girl, and the song was called About a Girl.
You don't know about a girl. I'll take over the world, and I'm gonna party like
Yeah. So literally within 72 hours of Keisha being kicked out, they were flying to LA to film this video to
Yeah.
About a Girl, which is a very typical Red One production.
Yeah.
Very catchy, but faceless. And,
Yeah.
there's some harmonies in there, but Yeah, it's just not the same, you know? And then they're actually, the version with Keisha has leaked along with a few of the other tracks from the album.
Yes.
And they sound so good. Like
Mhm.
Jada, she has an amazing voice.
Yes.
Very technical, and it has a really beautiful tone.
Mhm.
But it, you know, it's just hard to replace your last original member.
Right.
And she was really put in a weird position as well, you know,
Yeah.
to come in the middle of an album cycle in this
Mhm.
group that has been around for almost 10 years at that point,
Mhm.
and have to just immediately go to a video shoot
Yeah. Right.
and re-record an album that's done.
Right. So I commend her for that. And, you know, like what I said before has nothing to do with her personally. I just think, just professionally speaking, it's you got rid of an original member and you got rid of the member who was the dark-skinned Black woman who has this reputation of being a bully. How do the fans feel about it? Do they?
I don't think it was taken well. I know I didn't take it well. I mean, here's the thing. The sound was already going downhill. So maybe for
Mhm.
Keisha, it was actually a good thing that she kind of bounced before this album came out because it did
Right.
not do well commercially. The group completely lost their sound. Like I
Yeah.
said earlier, they didn't write any of the songs on there.
Yeah.
They were all just done by these big name producers that Jay-Z found. They're probably all rejects, you know, from something else. It didn't sound like anything was written specifically for
For
the Sugar
them.
Babes.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, support dwindled in the general public.
Yeah. I mean, there are some, I guess, highlights in the sense of like, I'm not going to call them the Sugar Babes, in the sense of this new group Sugar. There are some
Okay.
highlights. I said what I said. I actually do kind of like the cheekiness of Where My Kiss, not as a Sugar Babes track, not at all,
Mm.
but in the sense of like Sugar. Sugar had a good chance with Where My Kiss. I like the kind of like, I don't know, something about it is just, I like cheekiness, and it's very just like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then Jade looked like a who, like Cindy Lou Who in that video. Like it's very like actually,
Yes,
it's not the
yes.
greatest song, but you know,
There is one song on the
Mhm.
album that was done by Ryan Tedder called Thank You for the Heartbreak,
Mhm.
which I actually do like that song. Of course, I prefer the version with Keisha on it. But that one's actually like, okay, I was like, this could sit on like
Right.
Change or one of these last few Sugar Babes albums. Yeah. But yeah, so they kind of just disappeared after that. I
Yeah.
think, you know, they were dealing with a lot of stress probably from the drama.
Mhm.
I think the public was over it really.
At that point,
So
yeah.
they did take some time out and they actually signed a new record deal.
Mm.
So they left Jay-Z
Yes.
and Island.
Good. Just good.
And they plan to start their next album and just move on from the messiness of that campaign.
So raise your head, one fist in the air for freedom.
And so they did release a song called Freedom in September of 2011,
Mhm.
but there was very little interest
Yep.
and the song ended up not even fully being commercially released. They ended up just putting it out as like a free download.
Save your money,
Um,
y'all. Save your money. Here's an MP3.
Yeah, so this song is very generic.
Yeah.
That dubstep bridge.
Oh, beyond the dubstep. Oh, yeah. And of course, guess what they did? They put some belting at the end as if it's going to fix anything. Again, no amount of belting is going to fix the zig a zig nah that is that bridge.
To be fair, Jade sounds great
Great,
during that
yeah.
note.
Yeah, but the again,
Yeah.
not doing
Yes,
it.
yes.
But yeah, and even the video was just really, we're in the club, we're dancing, we're bi-curious in the club. Like, and then you could see the
Yeah.
Gaga influence, the shoulder blades, shoulder
Mhm.
pads, in the, oh God, it's just make it stop.
I think, you know what? It was time for the group
Mhm.
to end.
Mhm.
It was too much. The sound was gone. All the original members were gone.
Yeah.
Time to move on.
While all of this was happening, some rumors started circulating that the original group members, the original lineup of the Sugar Babes, Keisha, Mutia, and Siobhan, had actually reunited.
And this was confirmed in the summer of 2012 when the members had made up and they have signed a record deal with Polydor Records under the name Mutia Keisha Siobhan because they did not have the rights to the Sugar Babes name. And after a lot of teasing, a couple of gigs, some leaks, including Lay Down in Swimming Pools, which
Mhm.
was a reinterpretation of Kendrick Lamar's Swimming Pools, they finally released their first proper single as the original lineup again.
Yeah.
Stay
and it was a song called Flatline, which was co-written by 3 members. And it's a euphoric, summery track that features the group's signature 3-part harmonies. The depth was back,
Yes.
the emotion was back, but this time with the age and experience that they've had now that they're women.
Right. Great.
So yeah, this song received critical acclaim, but unfortunately, the interest from the general public wasn't there. I think them not having the name didn't help either.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it didn't chart too well. But I think the song is amazing. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. And I'm so mad it didn't do better for them.
Right.
But it's great to have heard, new material from them.
Yes, for sure. Like a little buzz single. So in January 2015, Keisha actually did start to apply for ownership of the Sugar Babes trademark, and the process took such a long time, literally almost like 4 years. And but finally, in August 2019, it was revealed that the original lineup finally reclaimed their name, Sugar Babes.
Bring you flowers in the pouring rain. Living without you is driving me insane.
And were featured on a DJ Spoonie track called Flowers, which I absolutely love. And it's a UK garage album. And I have no other words except I love this song. It was really exciting to hear it after you showed me everything and told me the story. And then I heard these, like, I was like, oh, the angels are back together. Like,
Yes, watching them perform together on TV under the name Sugar Babes,
yeah.
and just the pure joy that was coming from them. It was just really exciting
Right.
to see the 3 of them together again and finally under the name. I think the legal process actually is still going.
Okay.
There's so many things with that. But at least, they are able to use the name, it seems like. And yeah, so that was really a really exciting time as a fan, but that's actually the last official news that we've had on the group.
Yep.
And so, yeah, all we've been hearing is that they're still together and recording, but there hasn't been anything official revealed.
So, what is next for the Sugar Babes?
So One Touch had its 20th anniversary in November of 2020. And before the pandemic, I believe there were plans of some sort to celebrate that, whether that be a tour or something. But yeah, so unfortunately nothing happened really. But as I've said earlier, they've said they are still together and that they are writing. A lot of the album tracks and stuff from the last sessions a few years ago have leaked. So as fans, we're very grateful to have that. But as an artist, that sucks to have your stuff leaked. So I'm excited for an actual official release of new music. But yeah, it's just been a very big roller coaster to be a Sugar Babes fan.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm just glad that the 3 of them are back together and everyone seems to be in a good place. And
Indeed.
I'm sure, when things are ready, I'm excited to hear it.
I agree. It has been made mildly official that something is coming because the website for the Sugar Babes is now live and there's a mailing list, a new logo. So we're definitely going to get something, soon, hopefully. I mean, soon seems to be the operative word here. But I'm happy that this kind of happened. I think, like you said, they had to kind of go through all of this to really find, or I guess, not find purpose, but just to kind of get themselves together because Siobhan left so early in the group. So it should be interesting to hear how she sounds with some of the Heidi tracks that I actually do enjoy. I know they're probably not going to touch anything that Amel was a part of, which is...
Yeah, well, when they toured a few years ago, they actually did do a lot of the songs that Heidi was in.
Yeah.
They obviously only went up to like Ugly.
Right.
They didn't go past that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Can you imagine Get Sexy as them right now? That'd be hilarious.
No. That should never happen.
No, terrible. It's blasphemy.
I would love to hear Imutya on About You Now, though. Just out of curiosity. I don't see that happening because it doesn't seem like a song she would like. But yeah. But yeah, I love Heidi. She played such a pivotal role. But I have to say, hearing Siobhan sing like Stronger and Too Lost in You, and even like Freak Like Me, she sounds really good. So
she's an angel. Yeah. But nothing against them at all. Nothing against Amel and Jade and Heidi. But at this point in time, let's just end it the way we started it.
Yeah.
It'd be nice though in the future to kind of see if Heidi would be willing to kind of, you know, pop her head in. It'd be kind of cute. Oh,
Wow, can you imagine
like 4 of them?
all 6 of them coming together?
Oh, that's wild. That's too much.
That's like the dreams for Destiny's Child for like
Yeah.
Latoya and Latavia to come back with Michelle also and be
Yes.
this 5-piece Destiny's Child.
That'd be interesting, but
Yeah. That would
No.
work more than this though, because like at least with that one they just all stand behind Beyonce for the most part. But this one it's like, you know,
Oh.
the blend just would not be there.
No, not at
Unfortunately.
all, not at all. But it'd be nice to see a picture of them together, just to kind of be like, no hard feelings. Even with the other girls, kind of just as a dinner, I'm joking. I'm totally joking. But I wish the best for their careers. They seem to be doing well. No reports of anything tragic happening, which is great because sometimes you have groups that do end up in really bad, like the members end up in really bad situations, but everyone seems to be doing really well for themselves. And I
Mhm.
wish them all the best and, good health and whatnot. But class is officially over. That being said, make sure to leave us some comments and hit us up on our social media accounts at CCTV Pops on everything and let us know what you think about the Sugar Babes and who else you'd like to feature in this 101 series because we have a lot more lined up. So please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. And don't forget to check out our Sugar Babes playlist on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and all that good stuff. Until next time, that's Chris.
That's Shan.
And we are CCTV.